First of all, thank you all very much for coming. I know it wasn't easy on this night because the tube's not working, it's raining, the roads are crowded. I met someone who's come from Hastings, someone else who had to get off their bus at Marble Arch and walk the rest of the way. I came on my bicycle from Acton, and I hadn't actually bicycled for 2 years, so that turned out to be really, really hard. To me, much longer than it would have done to walk, I think. Anyway, it was 2 years ago, almost exactly, that the Free Speech Union was founded. So think of this as the second anniversary party. So thank you very much for helping us celebrate 2 years. And when I remember making a speech 2 years ago at the launch, in which I said I didn't think free speech had been in such peril since any time since the Second World War. And I thought then that it had reached an absolute nadir, that things couldn't get any worse, that we were, we'd fallen through the collapsing building and we'd hit the ground floor. And then, within weeks, the floor gave way and I started to kind of carry on falling. I mean, there was the pandemic with all the associated suppression of dissent, from COVID orthodoxy, and then there was the BLM movement with all the associated demonization of anyone who dissented from BLM orthodoxy. And suddenly, we were initially, maybe half a dozen people were cancelled a week when we set up the Free Speech Union. Now it's more like half a dozen people a day. I mean, it's just metastasized and got so much worse. But that's, of course, been an extraordinary stroke of luck for the Free Speech Union, because it means we got the timing right and we've grown quite quickly as a result. So we now have more than 9,000 members, which is fantastic, and that's without spending any money at all on marketing. And we have 13 employees. We're about to employ 3 more people. Some of the people who've applied for those jobs, hey Matthew, are here tonight, and I've seen them tonight. So we're a rapidly growing organisation. And as Jan said, we've begun to organise these face-to-face meetings. We always promised that we'd organise speakeasies, one of the things we do, so people who believe in free speech can get together and have uninhibited discussions, and I hope you're having uninhibited discussions tonight. But we hope to do more and more of this and to make that a big feature of what we offer to our members. But so just wanted to say thank you very much for coming. Thanks for helping us, for being part of this organisation, this movement. Do try and recruit other people. One person came up to me tonight and said that he had recruited some other people to join the FSU, and that's incredibly helpful to us. We want to just carry on growing, in order to afford to continue to employ as many people as we do and to help as many people as we do. We need more and more members. So help us recruit members. That's incredibly helpful. I guess it's important to reflect that we've got into the habit of taking free speech for granted. We think of it as a sort of ineradicable dimension of what life is like in contemporary Britain as a modern liberal democracy. But I think over the past 2 years, we've realised just how fragile free speech is and how it has to be defended and stood up for and fought for if we're going to preserve it. And I think the recent invasion of Ukraine is also a really timely reminder that we cannot take these things for granted. Until last week, I don't think we thought of free speech being at risk from invasion by a hostile power. But for the people of Ukraine, their free speech, if a puppet government is put in place by Putin, their free speech is going to be effectively over. And so that is another threat that we hadn't anticipated 2 years ago. But I should add that if you're Putinescus, if you think that actually Putin's right and that NATO brought this on themselves, then we will of course defend your right to maintain that point of view. We would even defend the right of RT, Russia Today, to continue broadcasting. I mean, it's crazy, I think, to try and suppress any dissent from what is rapidly becoming the kind of mainstream orthodoxy about the war in Ukraine in order to prosecute that war or support the Ukrainians. The way to support them is to defend the very values that they're trying to defend in our country as well. So if you aren't on the side of the heroic Ukrainians, if your heart doesn't sing every time Zelensky comes on television and shakes his fist at the invaders, then that's fine too. We would defend your right to dissent from that particular point of view to the death. Anyway, thank you very much for coming.